Hey guys, another day, another victory. Today, our Bible verse is going to be coming from Matthew chapter 23, verses 1 through 4, and it reads, Then Jesus spoke to the crowds and to his followers. Jesus said, The teachers of the law and the Pharisees have the authority to tell you what the law of Moses says, so you should obey and follow whatever they tell you. But their lives are not good examples for you to follow. They tell you to do things, but they don't do the things themselves. They make strict rules and try to force people to obey them, but they themselves will not try to follow any of those rules. So last week we talked about there being a third option, and I honed in or zoomed in on Black people, my people. And today we're just going to zoom in just a little bit more. And I'm kind of nervous to talk about this topic because I have so many people in my life affiliated with this, but here goes nothing. The title of today's episode is Between the Letters and the Church. Yes, you heard me. We are going to be talking about the Divine Nine, the Greek letters that Black people hold so dear to our hearts. First, what is the Divine Nine? Well, I looked it up on ChatGPT because I wanted to be super sure. And the Divine Nine refers to the 9 historically Black Greek letter organizations, and in parentheses it says BGLOs, that make up the National Pan-Hellenic Council, NPHC, in the United States. These organizations were founded at various colleges and universities to provide a support network for Black students during times of racial exclusion. Each organization has a distinct history, mission, and set of traditions, and all emphasize leadership, academic achievement, community service, and cultural pride. This all sounds great, grand, and dandy, and I love that for us. It gives us something to be proud of. But is it the right thing to truly be proud of? And what is the real meaning behind it? So the real question again is, why were these created? Well, first, before we can even go into that, we have to talk about Freemasonry by Prince Hall. And this is a subdivision that didn't even really start here in the United States. It started in Europe, in England. And it was given, or this sub part of it was founded by a Black man to help us, be more culturally aware of what's going on in this country and have equal rights to our counterparts, our white people, or anyone else that is just not a Black American. Because, we see in history, we've seen it, we're still living it in so many ways, of just the unfairness that is in that. And these organizations have tried to make a way for there to be some type of unity. But like I said, the question is, what unity is it bringing about? What power is it truly bringing? And this is something I've always questioned, even when I was younger. Um, so we're going to really dive deep into that.
America without Freemasonry. And maybe your initial thought is to cheer them on for that. But what if these goals and movements were less about equality and freedom and more about rebellion, walking away from our Creator and introducing a different form of slavery? We'll get to that. Either way, like I said earlier, the story of Black America cannot be accurately and fully told without recording the impact that Prince Hall Freemasonry had upon Black society. Behind nearly every pivotal turn in the history of Black America, Prince Hall Freemasons can be found, especially in the Black church. The foundation of Prince Hall Freemasonry was laid between 1775 and 1847. On March 6, 1775, 15 civilians were initiated in the Freemason Grand Lodge of Ireland, Lodge number 441, which had a lodge chartered in Boston, Massachusetts. These 15 were Black men from the Boston area. One of them was named Prince Hall. Now, this is important to understand and note. It wasn't the American Freemasons who initiated these men, but the lodges in England. In 1776, and always note this year because many different things happened in this year. During the War for Independence between America and England, these 15 Black men, including Prince Hall, formed themselves into a lodge which was called African Lodge Number 1. under the leadership of Prince Hall. African Lodge, under the leadership of Prince Hall, was held in high regard in the general community, aside from the racists who opposed them because of their color and their race. The lodge was particularly attractive to leaders in the black community. It showed a different type of black man that was not seen in this country before then. Hall established 2 new lodges, one in Providence, Rhode Island, and the other in Philadelphia. I want you to remember Philadelphia because they are important when we get to the Boule. There's a lot of details on how they grew and spread their membership around the country, but right now those details are inconsequential. They grew and gathered black men into their Masonic traditions. The slavery to freedom age, which was from 1800 to 1876, was crucial to the journey of Black America, and again, Prince Hall Freemasonry. And Prince Hall Freemasons served at the core of this struggle. The founding of many universities and mutual aid societies for blacks, financial institutions, the gaining of political power, the Underground Railroad, the Civil War, the Emancipation Proclamation, all were directly influenced by Freemasons. Anyways, the point I'm making is that the fact that there are secret societies is not very secret. It's more secret about what these groups believe in and why they exist in the first place. The point that I'm getting at is that we've heard of secret societies and that they exist. And with that understanding, one thing I don't think that is well known is the existence of black secret societies. Let me be clear that I don't like referring to this segment of the population as black people, but for time's sake, this is how I will refer to the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade in America. So yeah, people don't think about black secret societies because it is well known that over the course of history in the United States, power has never been truly given to the black community. This is why we saw the civil rights era and even no campaigns like the deceptive Black Lives Matter. It's because there was no power in the community. So I know, it kind of sounds odd to hear of black secret societies. When I first was exposed to it, it kind of threw me off. Because what is the deal with them? If there is power in those other white secret societies, that should mean that there is power in the black ones as well, right? The answer is a clear yes, but it's too deep to discuss right now. The fact I'm getting to is that black secret societies do exist, and it has been the primary way of access Satan has had in order to infiltrate the black community in America. Because they're secret, it was a good reason why the infiltration was able to occur. Nobody knew certain men and women in their communities were compromised. So when we saw them, we looked at their status and their rise that we thought that was based upon education and hard work, never really realizing that they sold out in order to sell us out. I've gone over these black secret societies in other videos. I spoke directly about Prince Hall Freemasonry, and I spoke directly about the Black Boule. 2 topics that are extremely important if you want to understand these black secret societies.
Hope you guys enjoyed that quick little video. The YouTuber, his name is Truthunedited. I've showed him before on my podcast, but he is someone I watch and I like to get information from him because, hey, sometimes everyone doesn't like reading books, and it's really easy for me to pick up information learning visually. Yes, I'll read if I really have to, but he's able to help provide those sources as well, so I can always put that down in the description below. But moving on, so we see that free hall masonry is like what everyone wants to get to. And then there's the black brulee, and then that's when we have the divine nine, the entry levels, and them all listed is Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, 1906 Cornell University. Also, if I pronounce these wrong, please forgive me. That's trying. Okay. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, 1906 in Howard University. Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, 1911, Indiana University. Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, 1911, Howard University. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, 1913, Howard University. Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity, 1914, Howard University. Zeta Phi Beta, 1920, Howard University. Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority, 1922, Butler University. Then Idaho Phi Theta University, 1963, Morgan State University. It was a lot. But these are all different subparts of, I guess, that big pan council that is trying to really reach out to black men. Like black women, we are so important. But let's like keep it for real. Like our black men, they're important. They're the head of the households, and we've seen the downfall of them since the beginning. Like always trying to be after the black man, especially in the United States. Once it hit the 70s, and we saw how they tried to really make the black man not be the head of the household anymore. And the black brulee is really black men, a part of this. And they just kind of have not an outside, definitely not outside, an inside look on what's going on in the world. And so I'm getting there. Just hold on. And so when we think about between the letters and the church, these organizations are also so tied into the church, the black church. And that's interesting for me. And just speaking from my personal experience, when I was younger, before I moved to the church that I attend now, my family heavily involved in these fraternities and sororities. Like our head pastor was in the fraternity, head first lady in a sorority. And I remember when I was younger seeing how sometimes the church anniversary would be like the anniversary of them being a part of their fraternity and sorority. And it was kind of interesting for me. And I was like, oh, well, what does this have to do with the Lord? And I never really would bring this up to my family. Oh, I would not do that. But my brain was always wondering and thinking about that. And why do why does it seem like so important to do this? And I know in the last episode I talked about, well, why are we paying for sisterhood or brotherhood? And I get it, like there's many different things that we pay for. So that's not the real reason that I seem to disagree with it, but I seem to disagree with it because who are we glorifying when we join these secret societies? Okay, maybe not secret societies because it's not really secret, but kind of like the video says, it is more so what are they really doing? Like the higher you go up, what are you actually doing? Who are we glorifying? Especially as black people, because we always complain about, oh, we don't get this for ourselves and we want this, we want that. But guys, if we really sat here, we didn't create these fraternities and stuff. Yes, we created this specific subpart, like the Divine Nine, but white people were doing it first. And if you look through the videos, links um that will be in the description of this and some of the readings, you'll see like how it was really formed, and it's kind of questionable. I mean, because yes, there's like a time when conspiracy theories is a thing and like this is something or this is something and all that stuff. But then it's also like when you really think about it, okay, but why do we make these hand signs? Like, what does that mean? And it's like being a disciple of Christ, it's really hard for me to just be like, oh, this is great. Because I used to think it was so cool too at the same time. Because I would love go out and watch them stroll. I'm like, okay, period. Like, if you know me, anytime I see someone strolling, it's going on my Instagram story. I'm not going to lie. Because I think it's so cool. But am I willing to put myself in that situation? Probably not. Because what is it with the whole tasing and stuff? And I don't understand that. Like, having to go through the rush. I don't I don't know, guys. Like, as you see, I'm so nervous talking about this because being a black woman and like a black young woman, and I'm just talking so strongly against this, it can be different and different. I know, but I want to be able to share how I feel. So bear with me. Bear with me. The main point I'm trying to make here is like what I was saying last week about black people being so different. We literally are. And I think when we sit here and like read the Bible, even reading the curses in Deuteronomy chapter 28, if you really think about it, who else really experiences that besides black people? And there's not a lot of things I can truly say on here without getting canceled, but I think it's interesting because there's so many times throughout history we've tried to be like white people. We try to be them. And we literally one can't be because of that. Like, have you guys ever thought that maybe we could actually be the true chosen people? Not that everyone else isn't. Not that, but there's two subparts. There's like the church and then there's the Israelites. Just throwing it out there. And you can take what I said at your own pace, you do your own research. I'm not going to say certain keywords because I am not trying to get my channel canceled or anything like that. But it's like reading and really expanding my mind than just what I've been taught and what I know. Things seem different because this is literally, guys, more of a history book than anything else. And I think we just don't think of it that way. And I think it's something that we should just take into consideration. And this is when you even think about segregation, right? Because we were flourishing, like we were doing our own thing. Like so many things has happened in us being segregated. So many things has happened in moments, well, in places where we were truly flourishing and doing our best during that time, like Black Wall Street, Tulsa Massacre. And I mean, there's many other things like where we were creating our own community. They're like, oh, end it. Why? Why? And then, guys, the Black Brulee, which Martin Luther King Jr. was a part of it. Now the movement is, oh, let's just integrate and let's be together. I thought the argument was to be equal. And listen to me when I say that. The argument was we want to be equal as you, not integrated, but it started to become integrated. Because I think it's different asking, can we have the same level of books as you? Then can I attend your school? Because now what we've started to think is, oh, we have to do everything that they're doing to be better than them. And that's not true. And I think a lot of us don't know that. Now, anyone that is a part of a fraternity or sorority, I'm not sitting here bashing you because one, you genuinely may not know all of this deep information. Or two, you may know it and don't care, or this is how you want to elevate in the world. And hey, that's cool too, because everybody has to do what they gotta do. But I'm just here just sharing my thoughts and how I feel about it. And it's something that's continuously questioning in my mind. Because it's just kind of like, also, if you're not in a divine nine and you're Black, it's like, oh, you're an outsider. Or if you don't go to a HBCU, it's like, oh, you're an outsider. Like, you should be going to a historically Black college because you're Black. Keep the culture going. Like, what are you doing? And hey, I've got that so many times, being called an Oreo or all this stuff. And I've always just said, no, it's not an issue that I want to be educated. And that's not me bashing anyone who doesn't go to a place that is HBCU. Anyone that goes to an HBCU, I think you guys are amazing and phenomenal. And I think you're braver than I could be because I don't know if I can survive. But I know that you can, and you adapted to the culture so well there. But for me, it may be hard. Like someone I went to high school with, she went to Fisk University, and her freshman year, like her dorm was shot at. And to her, it was kind of like, I mean, I know she was probably scared, like actually. But then it was also posting it like it was something funny. That's not funny. Like, I hate this standard that we've created for ourselves as Black people. It really hurts my heart. Like, it hurts more than makes me upset because it's just like so many things that just doesn't sit well with me. And I mean, we see little kids be grooming to be a part of these fraternities and sororities. Like, taking your kid to like a pre Delta day or pre AKA breakfast or all this stuff. And it's just kind of like, why though? Like, let's be different because we literally are different. Like, I feel like you guys know what I'm saying. But obviously, it's going to come across kind of left if you're just not on the same playing field. And I understand that. And I'm totally ready to back up what I'm saying if any of you guys disagree. But this is just truly how I feel. And even people that are part of the sororities or fraternities, most of the time they end up doing pretty well for themselves financially. So it's got some type of perks. Yes, they do community service and all this stuff, but it's also like, again, higher up. Everything, there's a higher up. And what is the true purpose? Like, is this a matrix type of simulation type of stuff? Like, what's the true purpose of being in a divine nine? And then being a Christian in a divine nine, I feel like it's so much harder. But maybe not, because you can be a Christian and be in the divine nine if you want to. But being a disciple of Christ and being a divine nine, I feel like two different things. And that's probably what people are going to disagree with me at. But hey, I truly believe you can't be an active member, a part of something that I feel like is so easily seen against in the Bible, but still be able to say that you are just so in for the Lord. Because then if that's the case, anyone that is a part of the LGBTQ plus community, we should not be bashing them either. Because it's the same thing, right? Because we see it in the Bible. We see it in the Bible that it's wrong. But then the argument can be made, yeah, it says it explicitly in the Bible. It doesn't say that explicitly in the Bible for being in a fraternity or sorority. Well, it does. We see that certain Israelites took on the norms of everyone else because they're like, oh, well, this is what they're doing, so we're going to do that too. Right?
For instance, when you see in the New Testament and they spoke about Greeks, people today, they apply this term very wrong. Like with this verse, people use it all the time. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither slave nor free. There is neither male nor female. For you all are one in Messiah Yahushua. Galatians chapter 3, verse 28. In Christianity, people use this verse to basically mean that the Jew no longer matters and we're all the same. And they use it like this because of a huge misunderstanding of the culture of the Yahudim at that time. I taught this recently in another series, but I will revisit it because it emphasizes the point that I'm trying to make. When verses like this speak of Greeks in the scripture, it's important to understand that he is not talking about all Greeks. He is not talking about the pagan Greeks that worship Zeus and Apollo. No. You must understand the history of the Yahudim and the Greeks in order to understand this. For anyone that knows a little bit of history, it should be no mystery that at some point, the Greeks, as they began to build their empire, they came upon the Yahudim and set out to conquer and control them. They came as they did with all other civilizations that they conquered. They set out to spread their culture and their language. This is a process called Hellenization. The world began to change because of Greece. Alexander, unlike the Persians before him, did not dream of uniting all his conquests into one great empire, but he wanted to merge all the conquered peoples into one great cultural unity. It was not about them all being the Greek Empire. It was about transforming their way of life to adopt to the Greek culture, which was far more powerful. In his conquest, he built new cities and he enlarged the old ones. He encouraged Greeks, especially the veterans of his army, to settle in these cities and teach the native population how to live like Greeks. Within a generation, the entire ancient East had a new way of life. There was new ideas, new names for their old gods, new language, new military tactics, and more importantly, new markets for trade. And you know what? This is very much like the way of America today. American values and culture is spread all around the world, the same way as the Greeks did. Anyways, as the world changed and the Yahudim also got conquered by the Greeks, leaving out the many of them that revolted and fought back against the Greeks, in which we know as the Maccabean Wars, we'll leave them out for right now. We should understand that there were other Yahudim that assimilated. There were Yahudi, meaning Jews, that were in search of better opportunities to make a living, and they chose to leave home and go amongst the Greeks. And slowly, Yahudim settlements grew up along the coast of the Mediterranean, on the islands of Greece and abroad. And this was the beginning of the Yahudim diaspora, the scattering of the Yahudim. These scattering Yahudim assimilated with the Greek way of life, and they learned the Greek language and adopted some Greek customs and ideas. They accepted Hellenization. And you have to understand that this scattering and assimilation, this was not involuntary. It was not like when Yah took them out of their land and sent them to Babylon or Assyria. When that happened, that was Yahuah doing this. This scattering, it was different. They chose the Greek way of life over the way of Yah. And the Yahudim that stayed, they did not respect any of them that did this. So for the ones that chose the Greek way of life, that first generation that settled, they did not understand much Greek. Perhaps the next generation understood both Hebrew and Greek. The third generation then understood very little Hebrew. Their native tongue, it was now Greek. They read Greek books and accepted Greek ideas. They could not read Hebrew, and this was a problem for many that still did not want to completely walk away from their faith. So they encouraged their children to study the Hebrew language, so that they might be able to become acquainted with the ideas of the Yahudim in their original way. And they also translated the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses, in Greek. It's called the Pentateuch, meaning simply 5 books, so that they did not truly forget where they came from. Because 70 learned scribes were a part of this translation, the Pentateuch was called the Septuagint, which means the 70. And so there now was a separation. The Yahudim were split between the true ones and the sellouts. Those who assimilated into Greek society were basically labeled as the sellouts, and they were not respected by the Yahudim in Judea. The true Yahudim, these are the ones that did not accept Hellenization and that assimilation, and the ones who fought the wars against these same Greeks, they did not respect those Yahudim that assimilated. And because of this, they no longer refer to them as Yahudim any longer. They refer to them as Greeks or Gentiles. And this is very crucial to understand. To them, these people, they were not Jews anymore. They were Greeks. For instance, we can find evidence of this when we go to the book of John, when Yahuah was speaking. Then Yahuah said to them, I shall be with you a little while longer, and then I go to him who sent me. You will seek me and not find me, and where I am, you cannot come. Then the Yahudim said amongst themselves, where does he intend to go that we shall not find him? Does he intend to go to the dispersion among the Greeks and teach the Greeks? John chapter 7, verse 33 through 35. They were thinking Yahuah was about to leave them and go talk to those sellout Greeks, which is why he was going where they wouldn't find him, because they had no business dealing with them. So understand, if you loosely use this word Greek to think he was speaking about the natural-born Greeks, these pagans, then you will grossly misinterpret what he is saying. When he writes things like, for there's no distinction between a Yahudi, Jew, and Greek, for the same Yahuah over all is rich to all who call upon him, Romans 10 verse 12, if you think he is talking about Alexander's kin, you will grossly misunderstand what he is saying. And this is how Christians interpret it today. Notice, he doesn't say Persian or Babylonian, but Greeks specifically. It's because of who he is referencing. He is not speaking about the pagan Greek Gentiles. So like I said, if you apply that way of thinking and understanding when you see the word Greeks, you can absolutely apply a false understanding to what Paul is saying. And unfortunately, many do. So please understand, when he is referring to Greeks, he is not referring to all Greeks. He is not referring to the same people that came and tried to conquer the Yahudim and killed many of their people. He is not speaking about the same Greeks that worship Zeus and perform their wickedness, orgies, and sorceries. He is referring to the Yahudim who assimilated into Greek culture.
Right? Like, we can't, guys, I don't even know. We're amazing. Like, black people are amazing. And in my mind, we're top tier, okay? Boom, I said it. But we can only be that, guys, if we, like, think and use our brain. I feel like we allow things to make us so upset all the time. Like, why every time it's an election or something, someone black gets shot or beat up by the police? Hello? Like, can we really think about this? Like, let's think about it. And even with the, like, Divine Nine and all this stuff, I think it's like a lot to deal with. A lot to process. And if we're making it solely for black people, I don't know why we sometimes allow people that aren't black to join them. I think that's interesting, especially if we're trying to be different and have it so secluded to black people. But I'm going to leave that to the side. My main argument for this episode is I don't see how us as black people only find our identity in the letters or the church and mush it together, because they are not, they don't go together. Like Freemasonry and all that stuff, like, no, like actually doing your research and you learn about it, it's like kind of scary because they're not serving the same God that I am or that we all proclaim that we're serving. And it's like when we step into these spaces, we have to do our research. We really do. And I think for me, like for the longest, I've always been asked, why have I not rushed yet? Or am I gonna rush? And I'd always be like, I don't know. And they're like, well, do your research. And the thing is, I have. I've done my research. What research are you doing is the question. Because we're looking at two different things. But I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it's really hard, stuff like this, to try to find the deep, real rooting. Because they don't want you to find it. Like, sometimes I have to actually go check out a book that I said I don't want to check out. Actually read and figure out, well, what does this really mean? Like, all this stuff. Because when things are so broadcasted for you to see, you have to weave out all of that stuff, like the wheat and tares. Like, you have to weave it out. You can't have itching ears. You have to see, like, okay, what is this? What does this mean? With all of that, guys, we're gonna say what the song of the week is, which is "Not Like Us" by Kendrick Lamar. We all sing this song. We love this song, but yet they're not like us, but we want to be like them so bad. And it's kind of sad. I think Kendrick Lamar had to even explain the meaning of the song, and it's like, I thought it was common sense. This is the stuff I'm talking about. Like, have you guys seen that new commercial that Kendrick does? It's like a black man talking to a white man, but Kendrick like in between, and he like translating for them. I know we can probably think that's funny, but it's also like stuff like that in my brain. It's like, oh, it's right in front of our face. Hello? They're telling you they think we're dumb. Like, it's right here. Can we pay attention? That shouldn't be the case. A black man should be able to speak for himself. That's why I love my dad and I love my brother. Okay? Because they I love my brother so much. Like, y'all seen him. Like, it's my dude. Anyways, hold up. That kind of seemed weird. It's okay. But I love him so much because he's such a respectable young man of God. And he's like that because his father is in the house and his father taught him to be like that. That's what needs to happen, guys. Okay? Like, okay, boom. You're gay, you're in a lesbian relationship. Fine. Have an uncle, a grandpa, something. Like, black men are important. Okay? Black men are important. I can't say it enough. Black men are important. Now, if you want to be a deadbeat black man, that's gonna have to be between you and the Lord. Because I have nothing to do with that, but I hate when I see one. And personally, there's one right now that I really am not a fan of, and I really would like for him to disappear. But he's still here. Not disappear like, not like that. I just mean like to be removed from this person's life because I feel like she just do better. Okay, guys, the main thing I'm just trying to say is the Divine Nine is interesting. The Black Church is interesting. Black people are interesting. And Kendrick Lamar does a great job in this song telling us the truth, even though sometimes we don't like paying attention to the truth. We just don't. Um, and this commercial that I'm talking about, but I feel like some of you have seen it, or it may have turned into the episode, I don't even know. It is such a slap in the face, and it is not funny. We need to really work on this, okay? Like, we really need to. People like Kamala Harris that went to an HBCU and in a sorority, she's able to learn Black culture. I've already said my opinion on her, but she's able to learn the Black culture. And it's sad that the way that she sees us is good for just cooking some good old soul food, getting those votes. No, like I can't stress this enough, and this is totally. I'm gonna have to just take whatever comes from this episode, but guys, like, I just can't stress enough how we have to do better. Like, especially the ones that are my age. Like, we have all the resources. We have Chat GPT, we have books, we have the internet, we have social media. We have social media to the point that there's people like that go and do the research and then put it on social media. So we ain't gotta do nothing. We just gotta lay there and scroll and watch it. Come on, let's be for real. Like, this doesn't make any sense. So yeah, we keep filling our head with nonsense like Glorilla, Sexy Red, and like, these are Black people. I can talk about this for days, but these are Black people, and it really hurts. Like, I actually think I'm gonna cry, but it just hurts me because it's like, why is this what we want to do? Like, Megan Thee Stallion, girl, this girl has a whole college degree. What are you doing? And let me hold up. I'm not saying we can't be artists and make art and express ourselves. But there's a way we can do it. There are younger black kids. There's black generations after us. We have to empower them and educate them, and not just to do the same thing. Not to do the same thing as us. Like, they need to do something different. Like, why are we just like, oh yeah, you want to be a rapper, son? No. Every black boy I know want to be a rapper. Why? Why do we all want to rap? Dang, like I'm tired. I mean, and those who are rappers though, you keep doing your thing. Not saying that you shouldn't, but it's just like sometimes it's like, bro, no. We all want to play sports. Dang. And I have my own opinions about that. Like I had to find this picture and show you, but I went to this museum and it showed that a starting quarterback or somebody starting, I don't know sports, starting a football game, and a dude picking cotton. I was gonna say the N word. And a dude picking cotton are doing the same thing. What? This is I I don't know. I don't like when my brother's on the football team now, I'm like, okay, I'm so happy for him. He's doing great. Last week he got a touchdown. That is my dude. Like, I love him. Love him hard. But he's also on the band. And you know what I said? Don't quit band. This dude is so talented. This dude's also great at math. Like, he used to help me with my math homework. He's 14, I'm 21. Don't worry about that part. The point is, he's so smart. I don't want anything or anyone to hold him back.